Welcome to, getting alerts and stuff. Welcome to another live stream, my friends. Bitcoin is really trying to get some sort of a reaction here out of my 4-hour Stuber fib pocket here, where I've begun building a bit of a long position. And guys, is this position going to see some sort of a nice bounce here? I mean, obviously, I'm hoping so, but honestly, even if we go down a little bit further, you guys know that how I typically ladder into these positions. I also have some laddered positions down in my swing fail box. So far on the 4-hour, I mean, it's nice to see that we're getting some sort of a reaction here, which is actually quite common for the market after we break some sort of a trend like this, right? On the 4-hour, here's where we had our low, we had our lower low, and that confirmed our lower high, which we broke. So coming back and retesting support is very natural. That's basically the entire idea behind my Stuber fib setups that I trade on all different time frames. So the 4 hours obviously no different. So I've begun laddering into a long position here. So far, my average entry right in the middle of that box, and I have about 3 more entries in my green box down here, laddering in towards my invalidation, just so that, if my position does get invalidated, we end up hitting my stop loss, then at least at that point, I've done my best to pull my average entry down closer to that level, so the loss is actually significantly smaller. On the other side of that, obviously, if we end up climbing right from here, then I have a bit of a smaller position. I don't get my entire position in. That's totally fine. But yeah, so far, nice to see that we're getting this little reaction here. What to expect out of this, you guys? Basically, the way I see it is that we broke the smaller range, right? When we had our immediate downtrend here, like I said, this would have been our confirmed lower high on the very micro trend, right? Just from our little downtrend. But we obviously broke out of that range. So once that happens, basically, okay, we broke the smaller range. I'm going to look at where the bigger range began, and that would be basically our all-time high. That is where we started this downward swing here. And that's exactly why I have this purple box up here, because that would just be my bearish Stuber fib, the same, just the opposite of this position where I'm looking along. That would be basically where resistance would start for me on a macro scale. Now, it doesn't even mean that we have to get up to that purple box, but at this point, that's just kind of what I'm, open to the possibility of, if we end up getting some sort of a bounce. And not only just looking at that as a bit of a target, but more so when we get up to that level, I want to be on the ball. I want to be ready for a potential rejection. I'm not saying that I'm bearish on the market at this point. However, we need to pay attention to where resistance is, because if you're on social media, if you're trying to trade tweets and fundamentals and that sort of thing, you are going to see people get excessively bullish at this level starting around 120K. If we even get back up to that level. Obviously, we don't have to. The chart can change at any time. We can break structure to the downside, continue plummeting, very possible. But I want to put this on your radar because that's very natural, where people in general on social media and just in general, people get very bullish into resistance and very bearish into support. So the people right now, a lot of people are scared to take longs right now at support, but they are going to be FOMOing into long positions right into resistance, ready to get wrecked. So just something to watch for. And not saying that we need to get rejected there either. It's just, I think it would make sense to at least get some sort of a reaction. Even if we end up pushing through, I don't think it would be our first attempt. But basically, resistance for the macro scale of things for me starts around 120,000 and runs up to about 127,000. That's all fair game for a rejection, in my opinion. But me, I'd rather buy support and sell resistance. So that's basically why I've begun laddering into this position here. So far, so good. Getting a nice little reaction out of that. Even on the 5-minute zooming in, you can see just how we hug this. Some of you guys, this may actually look familiar to a week or two ago when I took a trade on Ethereum along a 786. And we just traded along it for an entire weekend. I think it was like 3 or 4 days. We basically ended up trading sideways there, just like what Bitcoin's doing right now. So eventually, for Ethereum's case, it did end up popping up and hitting my 2 Stuber fib targets, which in this case would take us up to about 115,000. But we're obviously going to have to see what happens. This does not by any means have to repeat what that trade a couple of weeks ago did on a different coin. But just something to mention that we are at least trying to hold on to this support right now. So love to see that. Guys, on the weekly chart, I know I mentioned this in my stream yesterday. I think it's important just to consider. I'm not saying, YOLO short in a couple of weeks from now because the cycle has to be over because the time is up. That's not necessarily the case, but it's something I definitely want to have on my radar because I hate getting blindsided by why is the market dumping all of a sudden when everything's so bullish. Well, if we look at things the last couple of cycles, when we look at our cycle low to where our cycle topped out, it has been exactly 152 weeks from low to high, the last couple cycles. And this cycle, we're currently sitting at around 149 weeks, and with this weekly candle closing tonight. So we're getting very close to that time frame if history is going to repeat itself. I think there's a little bit of weight to that theory because in my opinion, going back to the 4 hour, it's not like we're going to hit those targets. Even if we do hit my $120,000 level there, it's not like it's going to happen quick. This is a 4 hour chart. It would likely take a couple or a few weeks. And in that case, we're hitting around that 152 week time frame. And also on top of that, we do technically have a downtrend right now. Just the fact that since we broke this uptrend, right, we had our high, the last time this happened in this cycle so far. So from our market peak, this is where we had our high. This was our slightly higher high. This is our confirmed higher low, the lowest point between the two. After breaking that, we're in a downtrend unless we break that high. Or I shouldn't actually say that. We're not necessarily a downtrend because we did continue a downtrend and we broke that, like I said earlier. However, it's still the top of the range. Basically, this is still a defining level for the range that we're trading in, just like where we broke this level, that then confirmed this as the other end of the range. So basically, that's why when we're looking for resistance, I would have my fib pull something like this. Hence showing the Stuber fib pocket, my swing fail pocket, all those things. So yeah, basically at this point, unless we actually set a new high, we have some concerns on the trend. This is very much valid resistance at this point, unless we end up setting a new high. At this point, that's where the downtrend started. This is where the macro resistance for me starts if we're going to get some sort of a bearish Stuber retest, basically. So just a couple of levels that I really wanted to throw on your radar because, again, you are going to see so much FOMO in the market if we end up getting up to this level. And in my opinion, that's not necessarily where we want to start getting bullish. You want to be bullish more so where it's uncomfortable and buying support, right? We all know we're supposed to buy support, long support, sell resistance, short resistance. But when it comes time, there's always something in the fundamentals that feel bullish at resistance, just like there's something that feels bearish at support, because those are lagging indicators. And that news explains why the move already happened, not the move that's necessarily to come. So something to pay attention to there. Like I said, Bitcoin's still looking good as far as bouncing from here. With the Trendmaster, we did break this sell signal as well. So I love to see that still holding this buy trend right now. So far this trade is looking nice. I mean, yeah, it would have been great to hit some of my lower targets, but if we just climb from here, you know what? I'm not going to complain about that. Good to see you guys in here. Thank you for joining me once again, my friends. Dan Rab, Hurley, good to see you, my friends. Thank you for joining me. For those of you who are here with me at this time, please do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button and make sure you're subscribed to this channel. It is a very new channel, so not many subscribers yet. So your likes and subscribes go a long way for the algorithms and all that sort of good stuff, you guys. But yeah, so far getting a nice little pump this morning. So far, good to see. And guys, when I was talking about Bitcoin, and I know I might sound a little pessimistic that, hey, just acknowledging that the bull market could be over for Bitcoin. Again, I'm not saying I'm bearish, but just looking at things realistically, that the top could, in theory, be in. I don't think that's necessarily lights out for the entire market, right? Because Bitcoin dominance, I know I've been talking about this one for a while here, is that I think there's a lot of room to go on this chart. This is a very large fib pull, and if this was any other asset, rather than just a dominance chart, if this was an actual coin I was trading, and it would not matter what the time frame is, I would be looking at this as a typical Stuber fib. It's just that this one happens to be almost 5 years of data here, because this goes right back to the end of 2020, start of 2021. This is a massive range. This is on a weekly chart, and we came right up to that 786, got a rejection, started losing diagonal support trend lines, and we haven't even got to the 0.5 fib yet. So not even the first target for the altcoin dominance. And obviously my main target would be the 214 if it's going to actually run. Now, for this to happen, since it's a weekly chart, just like what I was just talking about with the 4-hour chart on Bitcoin, this one would, well, I mean, in theory, it should take a long time to play out. It's a very large range. It's a large time frame. It would take a long time if we are going to push all the way down to the 214. It's likely not going to just happen in the next week or two. It's going to take a while to play out. So if Bitcoin could basically range sideways, even if it's in a big distribution range, for example, that would give the Bitcoin dominance some time to make its moves, which would also then, in theory, give altcoins a good chance to make their run, which is typically how bull markets end. The final phase where it gets the most bullish, especially in the altcoin market, that's just the thing, is it's great. It's a bit of a love-hate relationship there, because the ending phase of a bull market is so explosive generally, especially in altcoins. But at the same time, that means that it's likely coming to an end. So we're going to have to keep our eyes on that sort of thing. As well with the SPX, the S&P 500 here, so far holding a nice trend. And I know crypto and the stock market does not necessarily need to run together. Specifically, I mean, just recently, the last couple of weeks, I mean, we've seen crypto seeing a bit of a sell-off, whereas the stock market's still going into all-time highs, still in price discovery. So far, I mean, we're still holding this buy trend, and this is on the daily time frame. So this is actually very nice. Notice that, just like what I always talk about with the MDX Trendmaster, when we have those higher trending buy signals, that's such a bullish trend. And here's a perfect example. Whenever we get those higher buys, just holding the trend beautifully. So this one, obviously trends break eventually, and we could lose this support any day now. But so far, we do still at least have that indicator support below us for the S&P 500. So love to see that, as well as my green box here. Just a bit of an order block, because this red candle here, I'm treating this as our order block, just because that's basically the last time the bears tried to make a push to the downside. And then we ended up just pushing to new highs. So this is basically where we found support. And so far, we're still trying to hold that as support. We're obviously going to have to see when the trading week begins here in the next couple of days. Well, tomorrow morning. But we're going to have to see what the stock market actually does. But if it can actually hold this order block, then I think that would show some great confidence in the markets in general. And I think even though this isn't crypto specifically, it would still be good for the confidence in the markets in general. So I want to take a look at a few altcoins. Aster, naturally. I have a couple positions open on this, actually. I had mentioned in my Telegram last night that I was starting to take a position. I had an entry right about here. I ended up closing part of it at my first target. But then we came back down lower, hit a couple more of my entries, not all of them. I actually had a couple more lower in my green box here. But brought my average entry down very slightly. And also on a different account, I took another trade at this blue line here. So we'll have to see what happens with this. Right now, it's looking a little bit weak, full disclosure, but we're just going to have to see what happens with that. Aster has been one of my coins of choice recently since it launched, like last week. I've been trading the heck out of this coin, and it has been absolutely printing. Those of you who are in my Telegram channel, I mean, you guys would have been seeing that we had such beautiful trends forming on the MDX Trendmaster. So many bullish Stuber fibs were happening. It was such a good week last week for Aster. So that's one that I am still trading, still willing to take a stab at a position like this, even if it looks a little weak. Something like this, you guys, I just know I said this in my last stream and I got to say it again, but when you're trading coins like this, um, when you're trading any coin, you should always make sure you understand how much you're going to lose if you're going to lose your position, and know how big these ranges are, because these ranges, this is only a 5-minute chart, you guys, but this range is way bigger than it looks, right? If I go from the range low to the range high, this, even though it's just a 5-minute range, it's a 25% range. So it's absolutely huge. So just make sure you understand that before you're taking any trades, especially with leverage. Make sure you understand basically where your average entry is going to be, where your stop loss is going to be, because there's a chance, I mean, if you just took your entire position on 10x, let's say, from the 786, and then your invalidation is now actually a liquidation, right? So if you enter a position, something like that way up here, and you end up going down here and you're wondering, hey, my stop loss never got hit, but my position's closed and I'm out a bunch of money. Well, it turns out that that range is a lot bigger than it looks, and you may have liquidated yourself. So when things are really volatile like this, I mean, there's a reason I'm not using really high leverage on something like this. And also that's why I like to ladder into my position to help bring my average entries down. So far, we'll have to see. I'm hoping support holds here. Basically, we're trading right at where my average entry is so far. Like I said, I have a few more entries down lower in my green box. But yeah, so far, I mean, no matter how you look at it, we're more so at a support level than a resistance level at this point. So yeah, it looks weak, but support usually does until it doesn't. Hype is another one, you guys. I actually mentioned this. I think I pulled up this exact setup on my stream yesterday, actually. Got a bit of a position here, hit 3 of my entries, never hit the last couple, down closer to my 115. But this position's going nicely as well on Hype. You guys know I've been trading Hype quite a bit. Basically, Aster, Hype, Solana, Ethereum a little bit. I haven't actually traded Ethereum or Solana for about the last week or so, but I've been trading Hype and Aster quite a bit, and a little bit of Bitcoin. But so far, nice little reaction off support there. Same thing, a little bit of a swing fail, right? We dropped just below that double bottom territory and reclaimed it very quickly. So if you're looking more for a tighter entry, I mean, if you were just looking for a swing fail rather than the Stuber entry, you could have actually got an even better entry there. It's just obviously you don't always get that situation. So I was laddering in on my way down. If I hit my other entries, my average entry would be somewhere around here, but obviously I never. So still a nice position though. Have just hit my first target, have not hit my second target yet, but it really looks like we're making that push for that level right now. And that is the 5-minute. So I want to zoom out a little bit. Let's take a look at the 4-hour. Let's see if the indicators, let's bring up the MDX Trendmaster here. So this one, we actually have some potential resistance above us on the 4-hour. We have this blue line here, potential resistance as well. We did technically drop slightly below this higher buy signal. Now, although, you know, we did get right above it real quick, we did reclaim it. So not all hope is lost, but that is a bit of a red flag to me, the fact that we lost that. So something to watch for there. And again, just another reason why I'm willing to take profits along the way here. So far, still holding a buy signal on the 5-minute as well, which is great to see. I also like, so we have a bit of mixed signals here. Not that it matters because we've already hit some profits on this position. This is not a higher buy signal, but we still do have higher sell signals. So there's not a super obvious bearish shift in trend on the 5-minute with this indicator yet. So another reason why I'm willing to let, you know, a good chunk of this position run for now. If we end up hitting my next target, I'll still have half my position running. Either way, my stop loss is already at break even. Just since I have, I wanted to update my stop loss a little bit early. Usually I wait until I hit my second target. Sometimes I'll do it a little bit early. Like right now, I have a few positions open. Specifically, those Aster positions are a little bit risky. So I wanted to take a little risk off the table and bump my stop to break even here. And I have locked in some profits. So Great to see that hype has been reacting very well to my Stuber fibs. This is no different than any typical trade setup that I take. We basically, right, we have this range that topped here. We ended up pushing significantly higher. We come back down, retest support of the range, and then, get our little bounce. Playing the range first and hoping that the rest of the position takes off and turns into a home run, basically. I always trade the range first and then hope for the breakout because, yeah, home run trades are great. But typically speaking, the market likes to bounce around sideways a little bit more so than just trading one straight direction, right? Obviously, there's times where that feels not the case. Sometimes you get a very strong trend, but in general, the markets like to chop around sideways, chop people up, just sucker people into giving up their liquidity and stuff like that. So far, hype looking pretty good. Ethereum, same as yesterday. I have mixed feelings about this. It's not that it looks bad. It just looks a little bit risky because we're kind of in the middle of a range that I would be looking at. The fact that we never quite came down into my support zone, there's just a little bit of added risk there. The 1 hour, we also haven't, let me actually just check something here quick. No, it's looking more like a swing fail at this point. It might break it. But at this point, just looking at the micro trend on the 1 hour, actually, you know what? This is very micro analyzing, but we technically had a low here. We got our little bounce. We set a lower low with a little bounce and another lower low. So technically we broke this level. Again, that's very micro analyzing. I would really like to see us get above this level here where we so far got rejected. But at this point, I would be willing to, especially on a lower time frame, chances are you could find a bullish Stuber fib, something like this, if you look at the 5 minute, for example. But if that's what it is on the 1 hour right now, let's look at the 5 minute. And yeah, so basically same thing. If we ended up pulling back, I would be at least willing to consider this zone down here as potential support. So Ethereum not looking too bad. It's just that where it is specifically right now is kind of in the middle of nowhere for me. So I just don't have something that's really, really jumping out at me at this point. And as well, I want to be a little bit careful because I know Ethereum does have a slightly lower sell signal on the MDX Trendmaster, which could be giving us that warning that things are reversing a little bit. Because obviously here as well, we had higher trending buy signals and we ended up losing this support as well. So with the MDX Trendmaster, just giving us a warning that the trend may be shifting a little bit. So even where we're at right now, notice we have that blue line just above the resistance that I laid out. So we have an indicator giving us additional confluence for the same level approximately. So yeah, Ethereum, nothing really jumping out at me that's really worth trading at this point. Solana Solana exactly the same thing. We did get a nice bounce off the 786 that I had outlined. I actually never ended up taking that trade. I was snoozing on the go there and never did pull the trigger on that one. It is what it is, but it is still nice to see that, the bulls reacted from an obvious support level. Still have resistance above, just like with Ethereum, we have the sell signal on the 4 hour MDX Trendmaster showing potential resistance just above us. So NB and Solana did end up hitting my $250 target, actually about $254. It's just kind of same thing as Ethereum. I'm just nothing really jumping out at me for a new trade right at this point right now. Hopping over to meme coins for a little bit, you guys. I know I had mentioned Troll the last few streams. Well, actually, I've been talking about Troll since it was down around 1 cent, currently close to 14 cents. But yesterday in the stream, I had mentioned that, we're breaking out of this nice falling wedge here, but it was very possible that we end up coming back down and retesting for that resist support flip. And so far, this morning we wicked down to it absolutely perfectly. That is literally a perfect retest. So even though it's pulling back a little bit, I still haven't really lost confidence in that yet. We still have a bullish consolidation pattern breaking out after a massive 25x climb to the upside. So still love to see that. Cat with Mask, this is another one. This is much lower cap, much higher risk. I think it's around a $5 million market cap only, you guys. So that's another thing. If you're trading meme coins and low cap coins, understand that if the market cap is real low and the volume is quite low, that if you're just market buying with very large size, you may end up causing a bunch of slippage on yourself. So something to pay attention to there. But meme coins, basically the Solana casino. These are a couple of meme coins that I have been trading a little bit with spot, or more so in this case, more so just adding to my position, just kind of dollar cost averaging. But so far, it is sitting at support. I know it looks weak right now, but this is literally the same chart that I caught a 25x on Troll on when I was first talking about it on this stream months ago. We basically had the same thing. We had a bullish Stuber fib on the 4 hour. We came a little below the purple box, basically to double bottom territory, and just kind of traded sideways for months until it absolutely took off for us. So not saying by any means it has to play out the exact same. I think that there is so much more to the troll coin than an average meme coin that's just going to rug to zero kind of a thing. But it is what it is. So far looking like a very similar chart. So I would just rather be buying at support rather than selling out of my position, basically. What else? Bitcoin's still looking okay, still climbing a little bit. Like I said, even if Bitcoin drops lower, I'm not going to panic. I have more entries set, basically laddering in towards 105.5 thousand. If we start losing that level, then I have further concerns. And then we have an extended bearish trend. Basically, at that point, we would have a new lower low. And at that point, I would be basically pulling a new bearish Stuber fib. Again, this is all very theoretical, just saying that this is where we end up bottoming. I would be pulling a new Stuber fib just because we'd have a new lower low, which would then confirm my new lower high. And in that case, I think that 120K becomes a little less likely. And then we start looking at lower resistance levels if we do get some sort of a bounce. So just a few things to kind of watch out for, you guys. And guys, for those of you who are interested in just seeing more examples of how I pull Fibonacci's, how I look at market structure, some of my trade setup ideas and theories, just my overall thoughts on the market, you guys, do yourselves a favor, scan the QR code on the screen and get in my free Telegram channel there, where I share some of my thoughts about the market. We have been absolutely crushing it in there, especially September has been absolutely phenomenal. This is not a typical month, but just absolutely hammering altcoins this month. And it has been very profitable. So love to see that. Hopefully that can continue. And you guys, for those of you who do appreciate my level-headed approach rather than the clickbait and the hopium and the doom and gloom and all those extremes, if you appreciate my level-headed approach, just looking at the charts and trading them for what they are, please do me a favor, hit that thumbs up. Really helps the algorithms for such a new channel. And be sure to subscribe to the new channel because you don't want to be missing these live streams. I will be streaming full-time here starting the end of the month. For now, still have those little intros on the Financial Summit, just so that we don't leave any members behind who happen to miss the memos about the new channel. But like I said, it will be streaming full-time here on this channel, the crypto trading channel, moving forward into the new month. So very excited about that. Aster taking a little bit of a plunge here. We will see if I end up hitting my other entries, and if I hit those other entries, if support's actually going to hold. We're going to have to see with that one. It's looking a little bit weak, not going to lie. Hype looking significantly better right now. And Bitcoin actually looking significantly better right now. So we will see what happens there. Anyways, guys, I do have somewhere that I gotta be. So I think that's about all I wanted to go over today. Hopefully you guys found this stream useful. If so, please be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss these live streams. And as I mentioned, if you want access to my private Telegram channel where I share some of my favorite trading strategies, trade setup ideas, just my overall thoughts on the markets in general, there is a scannable QR code on the screen, as well as a link in the description down below for that. And with that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Peace.